All right. Hear me out. Today is Monday, November the 6th, 2023. And, man, this is So Says Mr. Thunder. I am Mr. Thunder. If this is your first time coming to the podcast, I want to say thank you. However you got here, I sure do appreciate it. We've come a long way. I've been doing this since March. So thank you for being here. For those of you who have continued to listen, I appreciate you coming back because you're the reason that the new ones are here. So give yourselves a pat on the back. So for those who have, your first time joining us, just give you a quick recap of what this is. This podcast has been created by myself and designed based upon generating an audio encyclopedia of wisdom, which consists of creating multiple books and chapters of subjects that, you could, benefit from in some form or fashion. So there's a format and a message to all of these. However you decide to listen to them, it's completely up to you. The beauty in it is that it's organic. So you always can tell when there's growth or, a breakthrough or anything like that. So I really believe that this thing is going to take off because, one of the things I talk about is finding your purpose and living in it. And that, has been pretty much a lot of the discussions that I've had recently when I talk about seeking counsel and things like that. So I just kind of want to touch base on that a little bit. So if you've been following up to this point, I've either had a conversation with you or you've had a conversation with me. You've been on this podcast. You've, called me in passing, connected with me in some form or fashion. But I've received, feedback, which is what everything is all based upon when it comes to delivering something of this magnitude, this type of wisdom. And like I said, this ain't about me. It's about you. And the beauty in it is I learn something new every time because I believe, waking up every day is a new day. Tomorrow isn't promised and life is too short to be missing out on opportunities to get wisdom. And if you've been following me, you know that I've created a format and a method to be able to seek wisdom and be able to say things in a manner that's so clear and so precise that it allows you to gather wisdom that's necessary to help you succeed in whatever your purpose is. So with that being said, I realized that this podcast is my purpose. And whether I've said it in multiple different ways or anything like that, I believe that this is what God has put me on this earth to do. To create something to where people who hear this podcast get something out of it. They walk away thinking and feeling different than before they came into it. Now, it's funny. I keep having these conversations about, what people think I should be doing with this and how God has called me to be a minister or a preacher, things like that. And that's not what I feel like I'm here to do. Not to say that that's not a good thing. It's just not exactly what I feel like my purpose is. So with that being said, I pride myself on being able to gather information and seek wisdom through that and develop a conversation and the ability to do those things. And one of the conversations that would always come up and really is coming up more often than not now is, so what do you do? Right? I remember when I first met my wife, she was trying to tell me when she would talk to her friends, about, meeting me and what I do. And, they would ask these questions and she could never really describe what I do. My kids could never really describe what I do because, what I did was not a typical job. Now, it's a typical job in the field that I was in, but for most people, working in the environment that I worked in, corporate law, high end corporate law, and dealing with those things in the back end and having people to be able to run the back end, you know, um, in a manner that's successful by being a problem solver and a leader, that's not really heard of as a profession, until you get into it. Like, you can't go to school for it. At the level I was at, you either had to be kind of grandfathered into it or in a good situation where somebody could get you into it. But in doing so, I was able to be in situations where I was able to open my mouth and basically use my gift, or the gift of gab that my parents say I have, and just get knowledge and wisdom from people that I would have never really ever thought that I would have met or been in rooms that I should have been in based upon my situation. But to be able to do that, right, and answer those questions, first thing you got to do is ask yourself, what do you do? And what do you do is asking what your purpose is, right? So the first thing, and I've learned, is that the first thing that you have to answer, or when you ask yourself, is, what is your name? What is your name? Who are you? That's who you are. Your name. Now, we had an episode where we talked about what's my name. Your name is the first thing that comes up, right? And then what you do, right? Exactly. What do you do? Like, not what do you do for a living, but what do you do for someone else? Right? What do you do for someone else? And who is that person? And what is the need or want that they have that you feel like you can be successful, or you're qualified to be that person to them? And then finally, how do they change after encountering you? Like, what transpires? What change in their life? What impact have you had on their lives that give you your purpose? Right? So I always think about that. I it's crazy. I working in the law firms, I would have conversations with, people who have gone to Ivy League schools, had the best of the best, lived the best of the lives, but were interested in the things that I had to say just based upon who I was and what I did. Now, what I did for them at the job was provide them a service that made their lives easier, right? But then getting to know me, they realized the benefit in actually becoming familiar with me allowed me to pursue my purpose. And my purpose at the time was to continuously gather as much information as I could to make myself successful. I didn't go the traditional route. I had my son at a young age. I went to college to play football. Even though I was good in school, I hated going to school. So I made different decisions. My way of navigating to success took me another way, right? Just because I didn't have the support or what I felt I needed to complete me. So I was constantly seeking out success. And in doing so, I was able to always ask the question, so what do you do? And I realized at this time in my life, I'll be 40. I'm 44. Yeah, 44. Be 45 next year, right? One thing I never thought I would make it to was 25. There's a story in that. My life was different. Not to say it was rough or any better or any worse than anybody else's, but I just didn't see me making it past 25 the way I was, operating my life. But once I found my purpose, I realized I had to keep going. And then having kids, I had to realize that I had to be a better man. I had to be a better father. And then when I got married, I had to be a better husband. When I gathered friends. I had to be a better friend. And all these things allowed me to pursue what my purpose is. The other thing is my name, right? My name was the first thing I ever talked about it. Your name is who you are. I never really knew who Ramsey Thunder was until Ramsey Thunder had to be Mr. Thunder. Have you found your purpose? Do you know what it is? What do you do it for? Why do you love to do it? Do you think you qualify to be significant in it? And if so, what changes have you made in other people's lives that have allowed you to elevate and be that better person so that your purpose can make you be prosperous and you can provide the life that you need for those that you care for so that they can take care of you in your time of need. This is So Says Mr. Thunder. I'm Mr. Thunder, and I'm a Native American of this country, and there ain't a damn thing you can do about it. I appreciate you for coming, spending a little time with me, listening to what I got to say, and I hope you got something out of it. If you feel like you want to say something, you got something you want to share, your purpose in life, you want to share that with us, please, please, please reach out to me. I'd love to hear from you. Just promise me you'll give me 10 minutes of your best, and don't worry about it. I know how to get it out of you. So a little conversation, a moment of counsel, and I guarantee you we'll be able to pull out of you the best of you so that you can provide your purpose to the people who need you the most. You can find me on Instagram, So Says Mr. Thunder. You can Google the podcast. We're on all platforms. This one is Spreaker. There's Apple. There's Sirius XM, iHeartRadio, Spotify. Spotify. I'm working my way up to Amazon, trying to get in there. And any of the other podcast platforms that are out there. Don't hesitate to just subscribe to it, listen to it, and like I said, dive in wherever you feel necessary. You won't be disappointed, but I guarantee you the one thing you will be is motivated, because when you get done, your mind is going to go somewhere and thought is going to be provoking so that you step outside the box to find your purpose. I appreciate you. I thank you, and I look forward to hearing from you. Peace.